This is part 2, the Core API discussion of the Axon Quick Start Guide. If you haven't seen part 1, the structure of an Axon application, I'd suggest you to subscribe to our Axonic channel or just go to YouTube and watch it over there. So today I'm going to talk you through the demo part 2, where I'm going to create the Core API of our food ordering application. Now, as we are doing this through commands, events, and queries as the message-driven API, this is what we're going to focus on. A command in this sense is the expression of intent to perform some operation. Events are the notification that some operation has happened, and queries are the requests for data. All three are types of messages, but very distinct type of messages, so we're going to segregate one another from each other. Now let's go into our favorite application, the food ordering demo, and as I pointed out, we're going to do stuff in the Core API. And from here on out, it's going to become apparent why we have used Kotlin, because I'm going to use a Kotlin file to model our commands in. Now the reason for this is because Kotlin gives me a very concise way of describing our command messages, and even in one file. This is thus less verbose than what you would have with Java. Regardless, you're still free to use a regular Pojo, or if you want to fine-tune that a little with Lombok to make it more concise. For the purposes of this demo, we're going to focus on doing this in Kotlin. And as we're dealing, let's go to the actual operations we want to perform on our food ordering domain. So we're dealing with the commands here, the expression to perform some operation. So firstly, we want to be able to order food, and for that we need a food cart to order, to contain all those orders in. So we're going to model that as a dedicated command, the create food cart command. I'm going to add command in there to be very specific that it's a command message, and it's current tense, so it's create food cart. It's not happened, it's not a notification, it's the expression to perform something, so it's current tense. There are no parameters for this message because it's just creation of a food cart, and that's it. Alongside that, we want to be able to select new products for our food cart. So we're going to introduce a select product command like so, and this will have a couple of fields. Now we need to select these products for a very specific food cart instance. So we'll need a food cart ID in there. And we're going to make this a UUID because that's typically a fair unique identifier. Let me get the import statement there. There you go. So we have UUID in there. We also want to specify which product we want to select. So we have a product ID, also going to do this as a UUID. And we want to give users the possibility to select a quantity, which is going to be an integer. Now I'm using a val here in Kotlin, making it a final field so that it's not adjustable afterwards, something we want. And I'm going to add another Kotlin specific thing. I'm going to make this a data class, meaning that I get an automatic equals and hash code and toString out of the box. And that's one of the nice things I think you can have with Kotlin. Next to selecting a product, I think it's also fair to state that our food ordering application should be able to deselect a product. So we're going to copy this, I'm going to introduce a deselect, and that's it. We want to do a deselect for a specific food cart, a specific type of product, and potentially also deselect several products at once of a specific type. And I can imagine one last command which is interesting for our food cart, and that's to point out that the order has been confirmed. So we want to have a order confirmed or a confirm order command in here, and we're going to need the food cart ID because we want to confirm an order for a specific food cart, and we're also going to make this a data class like so. Now this is it for command messages, with the exception of one final thing. Now, as our create food cart command will go to a very specific food cart instance, we need to tell the framework which instance that is. And we as developers know that that's the instance directed with the food cart ID, but the framework doesn't know that by default. So we need to tell it that what that field is. So we're going to use the target aggregate identifier annotation for that. Now, what the target aggregate identifier relates to will be coming in the second part, but this is what we need up here. This is it for our command messages. Very simple, very short. And I think from here on out, it's fair to state that we want to go to our events, the notification that something has happened. So again, this is a command stating that you want to perform some operation, which will be handled at a certain place. And the events will be the notification that that decision has been made. And as you see, I'm going to be a lazy developer. I'm just going to copy them over because we are going to mirror our command with our event. Now, granted, this is not always the case. It's because we got a very simple domain that this is the scenario at the moment. But in the majority of your applications, you will very likely have several instances of events coming out of every command. Now, as you see, I'm using multi-cursors to be a bit quicker about it, making them actually past tense. So very specifically, I'm making them past tense because it's an event. It has happened. So it's in the past. So the message, the naming should point that out. Lastly, I can remove the target aggregate identifier because these events do not target a specific aggregate. They come out of an aggregate, but they do not have to be directed towards it. And this is it for our events, except for one thing. Now, our food cart created event, as it's something in the past, it will have the notion of which food cart ID it belongs to. So we need to add that, and we're going to make this into a data class too. Now we have our commands, our expressions of intent, our notifications that something has happened, the events. Now we only need a couple of queries to be able to request data from our food ordering application. So I'm again going to introduce another Kotlin file, which I'm going to call queries. And in here I'm going to introduce two types of queries. I'm going to introduce a data class for the find food cart, which I'm going to name query to be very specific about it. And this needs a food cart ID, which I still have pasted up here. So this is pretty simple. Again, specifying this is a query message opposed to another event or command by adding query to the class name. And I can envision another type of query we might need. We need to know which products you can select for your food order. So let's state that we want to retrieve products options query like so. And this will not contain anything because we just want all the options. This is the core API of food ordering domain we'll be dealing with. So this is the end of this part. Well, and if you'd want to learn more regarding what we're doing here at Axonic, we obviously got our head webpage, axonic.io, where you can go to. You've got a reference guide ready for you at docs.axonic.io. You also have this food ordering demo I've been preparing in this guide and a GitHub repo you can look at. And lastly, it would be very great if you like this series, if you subscribe to our Axonic channel, which obviously is also the place to find these videos. Thanks for listening. Hope to see you next time.